Welcome to the Game On podcast. Tonight, South Australia win the Dean Jones Trophy or Shield. Is it the entree to the main?
One down, the main one to go.
Thornton, the man of the match performance, was very impressive with the ball.
His first 5 overs, the best 5 overs I've seen him bowl.
Absolutely. And Adelaide just getting up against Brisbane, but it is only Community Cup. And Port Adelaide with all the party tricks against St Kilda. But we're all hanging out. Bring on the season. All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Game On podcast. Once again, my name's Pete and Malcolm's joining me here in the studio, mate. How's your week been?
Oh, enjoyable on Saturday, obviously. It's actually weird to be at a South Australian game with plenty of people there. So there was about 6,500 in the end. One of the regulars came in and walked the ground and said, I want my normal spot. We all just burst out laughing. And, it was just good to see people there. So,
absolutely. And South Australia, we'll talk about that in a minute. South Australia, we're up and about. Obviously, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk, obviously, some SANFL, the soccer, the NRL experiment over in Vegas. But we're going to kick off with Around the Grounds.
Around the Grounds.
All right, I was a little bit premature with doing the what's coming up, but let's kick off with cricket, mate. An impressive game by South Australia, mate. I know you were there. Let's go through almost ball by ball. How did it all start? And obviously, we know the finish.
Got away to a reasonable start. Harry Nielsen has looked good opening, the 2 games he's opened.
Yes.
And away there for solid start until Harvey was chopped on off Sutherland.
Yes.
Daniel Drew didn't hit it in the middle, hit it up. So the second wicket, but Harry was working it around.
Yep.
And just steady. Nathan McSweeney struggled with the bat. He delivered with the ball though.
Yes.
And then Jake Lehman batted well.
Were you surprised with that he struggled a little bit with the bat, but sort of picked it up with the ball?
No, not in terms of his bowling. I rate his off spin. I actually believe he's a good enough off spin bowler to play as an off spinner.
Yep.
I think he's a better bowler than Ben Manenti.
Yes.
He's technique wise, he gets up high, the drift, the float, and I think he just doesn't believe in himself enough with bowling, and Ryan Harris hinted at that in a couple of interviews afterwards.
Yep.
So then Jake Lehman, it was probably a bit of a controversial selection.
That was what I was going to ask.
But Jake batted really well.
He did.
It was great.
The highlights there with Nielsen, through those middle overs was very, very important.
And then Liam Scott, who was player of the one day series,
yes,
came in and smashed them at the end. Now we were poor in the last over. In fact, we were shithouse in the last over. Nathan McAndrew should have pushed a single first ball to get Liam Scott back on strike. Didn't. Got out. We only got 3 off the last over.
Yep.
We should have got 8. So you're 275 instead of 268.
Yep.
You also worry that you haven't got him with momentum in that last over. That was disappointing.
Did you think 268 was a
I thought it was around.
total?
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
We thought the track wasn't quite coming through consistently.
Yep.
So, which isn't a surprise by this time of the year.
Yep.
And that side of thing, and especially the lack of rain.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how much water you put into a wicket, you're not getting the nitrogen and that from the rain. And we just, Adam and Eve were sharing apples the last time it seemed to rain in South Australia.
Yeah, a dry spell for 33 odd years. So there's a lot of grass everywhere. Cricket, lawn bowls, tennis that are all struggling because we haven't had that rain.
Yeah. Oh, and so in that way, and then I thought we bowled pretty well. So Nathan McAndrew bowled a beauty to get the first wicket. Then Harris batted pretty well, and they got to 1 for 70 odd off 14 overs. You go, shit, we need a wicket here.
Yes.
And Nathan McSweeney brought himself on. Again, the theory, the offie to bowl to the 2 left-handers. Totally agree with that. Yep. Always a big fan of offie to left-handers.
Yep.
and dismissed Harris, caught it cover by Sanger. Then Pete Hanscom, and interestingly enough, off the ground, they were trying to get the message down, probably trying to bring the quick back on against Hanscom early, not spin. And Hanscom mauled a straight drive, and to Nathan McSweeney's credit, he got a hand up, didn't panic, caught it on the rebound.
Yes.
And really, we were then in control of the game from then on. They didn't. Young Kellaway, who was given not out, caught behind. And I admit, I'm flummoxed that it was a while back that they weren't showing a controversial decision again on the screen.
Yep.
And they showed it, and he smashed it. It was a blatant caught behind. It was a terrible decision.
Yep.
So he actually felt sorry for the umpire because he's just been shut up. The whole crowd booed and all that.
Yep.
And
is that where the third umpire and those sort of replays can be at a detriment to umpires?
Well,
just a question without notice.
It was a little bit bizarre in terms of there it is, the grand final in our domestic competition. Let's be honest, we're not third world. Why in the hell there wasn't hotspot and et cetera available?
Yes.
But there wasn't. It was just a game with umpiring. There was no reviews. So I found that a little bit bizarre. I thought you would have...
disheartening a little bit?
No. Look, the umpire used to just make a decision. You get on with it, right or wrong.
Well, yeah.
And I'm not sure that... It was funny in terms of the Harper caught behind. Live, I thought, that's out. Watched it again a few times. One angle, it looks like it hits his pad. One angle, you go, maybe it hit the bat. Perfect case it would have been for Snicko.
Yes.
And so, in that way, that was the other umpire, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things. But we just bowled well. Then had Pope up the sleeve, brought him on a bit later. And a couple of people said, why? Pope a bit later said, you also got to remember, in the one-day competition, you're using a new ball at each end.
Yes.
So it's not like the leggy. It's not like there's been
ball,
30 overs off the ball for the leggy to bowl.
Torn up along the ground and along the pitch,
out of that way for the leggy. And he also had Sutherland palpably plumb for the last wicket. And it was that bad. Even Ryan Harris said on radio, well, thank goodness it didn't cost it. But, it was plumb.
Yep.
Which a coach never says.
No.
But that's how plumb it was.
Absolutely.
But Henry Thornton's first 5 overs for 9 just did not bowl. Every ball was just line and length was perfect. And so they just built up a bit of pressure, even though we hadn't taken wickets.
Yes.
And, while the run rate never got out of control for Victoria chasing, they always just kept losing wickets. That Kellaway was the one where, when he was struggling, he kept trying to belt shit out of the ball instead of working it for one to get the other player on strike.
Yep. Which is what South Australia did pretty well.
Yeah, and he'd made 100 the week before.
Yes.
And I think he should have been more adjustment in his head. Hey, I'm not hitting them that well here. I've got to get down the other end.
Yep.
And it should have been also the partner saying, Duncan, keep backing yourself in, young fella, but just work it.
Is that relax. A lost art in Australian cricket in the last, say, 10 years?
Well, I think
maybe
because of 2020, it is part of it. With but it was disappointing. I thought he was a better player than that.
Yep.
From I've watched him. He got runs here in the Shield game. Luckily, we got him out towards the end of the Shield game.
Yes.
And I think he's got a fair bit of talent, but I think the occasion got to him a bit.
Yes.
And I'm not sure there was enough from the bench going, just relax, young fella. Back yourself in, but get ones.
Yep.
And we just played with a bit more common sense. We fielded pretty well, even though dropped one catch.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was just reasonably we didn't panic at any stage again. And that's probably the pleasing thing of South Australia this year.
We've had Rhino on the show a couple of times now, and we've obviously talked about it a little bit off air as well. His influence in being
sport a bit
cool,
more polish,
calm, and collected at various stages when things could have got out of hand has been, like you said, the most pleasing part of this year.
The Shield game, after you've been bowled out for 93.
Normally you're getting belted, aren't you?
Yeah, after that, previous few years, the opposition's 3 or 4 for 200 at stumps, game's over. But no, at stumps we were right back in the game. We bowled them out for 101 and we were done for 16.
Yep.
So that's where And, it is the first time we've won a Shield game after being bowled out for under 100.
Right.
So it's been stats like that have been really pleasing. And I did let Rhino know, and he did appreciate this one, that having this year that we've won in Queensland, Tasmania and WA and drawn in New South Wales.
Yep.
If we could win in Victoria, it's just about our most successful ever season away.
Yep.
So he's going to use that one.
Absolutely.
So, look, big game Thursday.
But that gives you confidence, doesn't it? I mean, this is what seems from the outside looking in. They look like a team who have just gone, whatever's happened in the past has happened in the past. Whatever's going to happen now is going to happen now, and we'll worry about what's going to happen in the future. That's a very powerful position to be in.
So we need one win from our last two, definitely, to host the final. If the results go our way, and we could even not win our last two games but still host, but one definitely. Pretty sure Alex Carey will play the next game.
Yes.
Maybe did sit with his mum and dad.
Just get a little bit of information there.
I think so. That did not on the weekend. I sat with them the week before.
Yes.
So hopefully Alex will be back.
Yep. So let's talk about that. Let's talk best case scenario. South Australia are hosting a final. The big kerfuffle at the moment is obviously
there's lots of things going on behind the scenes.
Where it's going to be hosted. I believe it's an Adelaide Crows home game weekend. They're very good at changing these pitches over, but changing them over in a day?
Yeah, but Hoffy has got it down to such an art and they really do have it like clockwork. It's actually fascinating to watch.
Yes. I've seen some of the videos online.
Fascinating to watch. And if Hoffy reckons it can be done, I'm happy to back that in.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Pretty important that the AFL Players Association supported it today.
Yes.
So wait and see. Look, we were all fully going, right, we're at Carramrolton.
Yep.
Now
what an atmosphere it would be there when you think about it, because there's not a lot of grandstand seating, so everyone's bringing their deck chairs. It's almost a throwback to yesteryear, where a lot of the grounds did have those grassy areas. Adelaide Oval's obviously the only one that still has it under the scoreboard there. So from that point of view, it'd be fantastic. But you want your penultimate game, don't you, at the biggest stadium available?
I still think, personally, I'm in left field, and I brought it up. Campbelltown Oval is a fantastic facility. Now, they're saying, well, they're not really sure whether it'd get the tick on whether you can prepare a 4-day wicket because it's only had the one second 11 game. But personally, for mine, in terms of a venue, where a bit bigger, more room for people, gets a tick. But it's a fine line with that Carramrolton.
Being in the city is obviously the advantage, and you have a look at
Carramrolton is one thing about it. It is a prick of a ground to park. You're actually probably better off getting public and getting the tram down there.
I think that's why those facilities are being put in those areas, isn't it? To try and get public transport. But you've mentioned many times on this podcast is that the older people need those parking facilities reasonably close to where they are.
Massively.
Just purely walking distance, really.
It will prevent some people from going, having it at Carramrolton.
Yep. Any chance of parking on the back grounds out the back there of Carramrolton?
Sure, because they're still using those grounds for cricket at the moment as well.
That's why I asked.
Sure. I admit there was a bit of bemusement in local cricket on the weekend where the under-17 finals were played at Ross Trevor on Sunday, and the general comment was, we can't work out why we're not at Park 25.
Yes.
And, I said, I agree. I can't work it out either.
Well, I would have thought that most of your grand finals would want to be showcased on,
it was
certainly not Adelaide Oval because of the way the footy season rolls up, but you've got a perfectly good cricket oval that is being shared for football as the season goes on. But you've got a perfectly good cricket oval and some good ovals out the back.
There's four ovals.
Yep.
So, and that was the weird thing Sunday, because Ross Trevor have had problems with ball water and whatever, lots of things there.
Yep.
So the ovals were actually in pretty poor nick.
Yes.
And
You don't want a grand final being played there.
well,
do
you
you?
didn't want the semis there
No.
either. It was great that the semis were next to each other, so
Yes.
you could watch both games.
Yep.
But it was a bit weird, and my understanding is Ross Trevor actually said we don't want the grand final here. We don't want to represent our school like that. So the grand final was to be played at Ross Trevor, has been moved to Campbelltown in that grade. So.
Well, that'd be a fantastic result. I didn't realise that Campbelltown was an option, really, because
I'm a
you
big
sort of
G
think
of
of
it
where the
because
centre.
And that it's a really good and
Yep.
upstairs.
It is a
there's
nice
rooms
facility.
there. You know, I think there's one of the rooms there which seats 280. Now you can set up corporate things and that for a Shield final.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah.
And wouldn't it be fantastic to be out in the suburbs? I mean, that's the other thing too. You want these teams to represent maybe out in the suburbs.
Oh,
That'd be
the
fantastic.
fact that it's 2 minutes drive from my house never ever in my mind.
Well,
Pete.
it's only about 4 minutes for me,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that would be fantastic. But getting back to local
No,
community.
seriously, I do think it would be and I did make that point
Yep.
to the people at East Torrens
Yep.
a few weeks ago.
I think the Saka could potentially miss a trick there, but I know their first preference is to get back to the Adelaide Oval or the Karen Islands, which I understand there's been a lot
So
of
we wait and see. There's lots of things going on behind the scenes.
Yep.
Haven't heard any more update this afternoon.
a lot of teams. A lot of investments going into those facilities. So I totally understand it from that point.
Again, at the moment, let's win in Victoria this week,
And then
secure
we
the
worry
rights,
about it.
and then
No.
we can even more argy-bargy.
Exactly
so,
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Obviously, we just want to touch base on that, hoping that results go our way, and obviously a win would certainly be there. All right, mate. Premier 1 cricket results. We'll stick with the cricket for a minute or two. Nothing too out of the ordinary on the weekend?
Just, having a look at the basketball final.
Yep.
At the moment, Melbourne and the Wildcats. The Wildcats are 4 points up at half time.
Wow.
So after being 11 up at quarter time. So there's that.
Huge results. Premier League cricket getting towards the pointy end.
Yeah, let's go there.
Yep.
I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head.
All good.
While I was at Ag.
Well, let us know about Kensington while you're sort of punching that up.
Yeah,
You were there, yep.
Kensington made, what did they get in the end? 267. Typical Kenzie performance, just all contributing. Like, there they were, struggling at 7 for, and in comes David Grant, batting number 9, who made 56. And they just consistently do that. Christian Lettercoat got 80. Josh Doyle, who's had a pretty good year, made 43.
Yep.
So West Torrens, not sure who they'll get back this week. They'll probably have Daniel Drew back.
Yes.
So just waiting to see there.
A few boys with a little bit of a sore head, maybe.
Yeah, well, that said, right, 2 days and then we're back in for the Shield game. I heard Jake this morning interviewed about it. So we've had 2 good days, but everyone's pretty switched on. So
Yep. And that's the difference between yesteryear and now, isn't it?
Oh, yes, yesteryear it was 2 months. I don't worry about 2 days.
Exactly right.
Not sure I'm still home from the last time South Australia won the Shield.
Well,
yet.
mate, I almost put out a missing report today.
No, it's been
I
very quiet.
I hadn't heard from you all day, thinking, well, maybe you might be
very-
just on the.
No, very disciplined.
Nope. And if they win the Shield, I definitely know you won't be arriving here. So
So in the Port Adelaide have already defeated Adelaide Uni. Adelaide Uni have been pretty disappointing this year and are going to come bottom.
Yep.
We're bowled out for 100, and Port Adelaide declared at 4 for 144. So they're still batting in second, but haven't lost to. We got Liam Grieber, well coached at Prince's, 3 for 26. Cameron Valenti, 5 for 40. Sam Kerber made 37, and then Port. Just everyone contributed a bit in there, pretty easy there.
beautiful.
So we've got that. Then it's set. So it's Uni trying not to lose outright this week. West Torrens done for 8 overnight, chasing the 267. That could be a good game
Yes. Where's that being played?
at Kensington, at
Yep.
Parkinson.
Yep.
So,
Get down on Saturday.
yeah,
if
I
you're not doing
might
too much.
get there for the first couple of hours.
Yep.
Sturt were out for 189, and Glenelg 4 for 118. So Glenelg are probably slightly in the better position, but a couple of quick wickets
Could change that.
Changed
Yep,
that.
absolutely.
Carl Arnold 52, Tommy Bates 67, more down, and that was from 7 and 8. So Sturt were a bit disappointing there. They've fallen away a little bit, but you fall for, and Ben Bullamore's 24 not out overnight. Harry Cunningham 18 not out. So, they stabilised it a bit from 4 for 80. 4 for 80 odds. So,
it sounds like some really good team performances, which
a
is
little
what
bit
you
of
sort
that.
of want at this time of the year, don't you?
And Tetra Gully batted very well, 7 for 327 against Adelaide.
Yep.
Of which Joe Gadding, as we've he's got a few mentions on the show for the year, made 103. Thomas Jackson 92, and look, I think Hamish Case is their best player, and he made a Sporting Globe. So good performance there.
Absolutely.
Now in Begra in Div 2, Ryan King again teed off, was out for 80 in the first over after lunch, and at that stage they were cruising, but they fell away to make 233 after being 1 for 140.
Yep.
Prospect rate for 82 overnight. Dylan King 6 for 26, including 5 bowled.
Yes.
Prospect have been pretty average with the bat, unfortunately. Woodville 4 for 29. They held a couple of batsmen back. Probably not a great decision in the end.
Yes.
Chasing 246. And the Sacker under-19s, fantastic effort against Southern Districts, batted all day. 4 for 369.
That's fantastic.
And a huge partnership at the end. Now, Hayden Barbulovic, not out 183 open, batted the whole day. And Jack Thomas 121 not out. So those two put on plenty.
You don't see and hear that very often these days, do you? Not only in shield cricket, but someone actually batting the whole day out.
Yep.
Reminds you of the old sort of 80s and early 90s with the Australian team where, you settled in for the day and that batsman basically batted all the way through. Mate, that's fantastic. A little bit of a local roundup.
Yep.
It's probably time to fly over to the other side of the world, the Champions Trophy, mate. Let's talk what's going on there. Australia playing India tonight as we're sort of just starting to record. So
I want to say, though,
by the time this goes out, we'll have a result, but
I don't actually care. It is a fiasco. It is absolutely ridiculous that India can dictate. So we're not playing in Pakistan. So they're playing in Dubai. Now, Australia travelled 2,000 kilometres, flew there to practice for one day, waiting on the other result. And if New Zealand had beaten India, they would have flown back to Pakistan to play there.
Yep.
Now, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Australia at the moment, 1 for 31. Travis Head 26 at the moment. But I'm just saying, overall, yes, we know 78 cents out of every dollar comes out of India, so that's why they rule world cricket.
Yep.
But it is ridiculous that it's that much. That makes the VFL competition, Collingwood and Essendon and Cartwheel, that makes that appear bloody
chicken feed, really.
So it's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Well, we know the political unrest that goes through there, but this should have been anticipated.
Oh, it was, but just India's so much control. All the other countries are saying this is crap.
Yep.
And how much of an advantage it is to India. They play the same ground the whole tournament. Stay in the same hotel. You're not travelling.
Yep.
It is a massive advantage. It's just it's bullshit.
Does this give Australia a little bit of a...
Well, it motivates.
I was about to say a bit of a how do you do and go, well, let's prove you wrong here. But, does that fire them up?
Yeah, a little bit. I think Matthew Short being out injured really
hurts. Yep.
Cooper Connolly, they tried him opening. He made a duck off 9 balls. He's not ready yet.
Was it a better choice than Fraser McGurk?
Oh,
much of a muchness.
Toss the coin. But I think they probably should have taken one of the senior player with them. I think they probably messed up there. But anyway, yes.
Should be interesting. Mate, New Zealand taking on South Africa in that other semi-final.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would have seen it, but for our listeners and also the watchers on YouTube, the catch from the New Zealand player
Glenn
against
Phillips.
There you go, against
an absolute blinder.
Virat Kohli just couldn't believe it.
And wasn't it beautiful that it was Virat? I was hoping that would win New Zealand the game.
Yes.
So,
the crowd was up and about, and then there was a hush. It was a weird...
No, you could have heard a pin drop. India do that with the Indian crowd, bang. Look, how fanatical they are.
Oh, absolutely. Love it.
Brilliant.
Yep.
But it's hilarious when something goes wrong. And actually, speaking to the guys where they said the World Cup final, when Kohli got out, 100,000 people there.
Yep.
And I said there was more noise at a game at Adelaide Oval with 100 people at a Shield game than after, after Kohler got out.
That's unbelievable. It's going to be an interesting watch with India once he retires as to who's going to step up and who's going to be that next big thing in Indian cricket. All right, best of luck to Australia in that game tonight, and if they do make it through, we'll have some results by next week to talk about the final. So well done there. All right, mate, we better move on very, very quickly to the AFL. Adelaide, we'll start off here with Adelaide. Finish off strongly against Brisbane. Is it good that they did that for a little bit of self-belief and an important win in the scheme of things as far as their development goes?
It is, but I find it fascinating, right? If you actually watch the last minute, Adelaide there was Nankervis and another player collided. No talk and it should have been a mark.
Yep.
And then the resulting crumb, Brisbane get the ball forward and the ball lands half a yard in front of the Brisbane player, would have then had the shot for goal 30 yards out.
Yep.
Straight in front.
Yes.
So we acknowledge that it's a lot of luck in close games.
Absolutely.
But that Adelaide stuffed that up where he dropped the mark. And if you see where Riley O'Brien is, honestly, he might as well be milking a cow where he was standing.
Yep.
And how Sydney went through their grand final for 8 hours and they took an hour on the first minute. I was actually thinking of that. I'm thinking, geez, I'd love to know how long Cox would take on this last minute, was my thought watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Self-belief is a big thing. Remember the old Wizard Cup days and Foundation Cup days here in SA and everything like that?
It doesn't hurt.
Momentum definitely helps.
Yeah.
And I think Adelaide are in a good position as far as that part of it goes.
And they played St Kilda round one. St Kilda with a hell of a lot of injuries.
Yep. But they've still got to get the job done.
Oh, yes, very much.
These are
Massively.
the danger ones for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But hopefully round one, though, I think everyone, and you don't play this week.
Yes.
So you hit round one generally.
Ready and raring to go.
There'll be 40-odd thousand there. I'll be disappointed. I reckon Adelaide can only stuff that game. Only way Adelaide can lose round one is if they go in ridiculously overconfident or kick terribly for goal.
Yep. The focus has been very much this year on whatever is happening ahead of it. Yeah. It's one round by one round. Is it too simplistic though?
But they admit they got it wrong last year, where they were thinking of finals and all that, where they went, hang on, this is all process. Let's do the process right.
Yep.
And the bit looks after itself. Now, we can argue, is that going overboard, whatever.
Yep.
But that is the modern line of thinking.
Yep.
So do your process right.
1 week at a time, one opponent at a time, 1 minute at a time, prepare well and go from there. Adelaide's going to be an interesting watch for me. We're going to do our top 8 ladder predictions a little bit later on. But we'll talk Port Adelaide. They took on a depleted and somewhat very light on St Kilda and certainly made them pay. Is that good for Port Adelaide's confidence as well?
It doesn't hurt their confidence. But again, you've got to take the result with a bit of grain of salt. Sharman and Owens injured during the game. Hasty went off as well and they were already down a bit.
Yep.
You know, so, yeah, you wonder. Like, it's pretty incredible. You could have, out of St Kilda's preferred forward 6 or 7, forward 7, you may well have King, Owens, Sharman, Philippo, and Henry all out injured. So 5 out of their preferred starting 7.
It's hard to kick a score when that happens, but opportunity is there for the taking.
Yeah, well, I think Harry therefore will play, which obviously
this is what I was going to say.
Wishing Boydie all the best.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing him run out, not in the red and the blue, but for St Kilda and getting his opportunity. Let's talk St Kilda just briefly. Are they going to be that middle 6 team, or do we sort of see them maybe rethinking their strategy a little bit?
They finished last year pretty strong. I had them, look, at the moment, you can, in your starting 8, you realistically, before you're going, right, West Coast, Richmond and North Melbourne probably don't make, and North Melbourne are an outside chance.
Yep.
But realistically, anyone doing their honest 8 doesn't have those 3 in it.
Agreed.
I think St Kilda was still right amongst it before all these injuries. But at the moment, geez, no.
Yep. It's going to be an interesting watch for Ross Lyon. All right, tropical cyclones are absolutely making a mess of opening round.
And sorry, it was piss weak and disgraceful by the AFL that it took so long to call it.
Yep.
Now, as you know, Chris Fagan said, hang on, we got players home sandbagging the house. Everyone's been told to bucker down and all that, but you're still programming an AFL game?
Yes.
No, and now just imagine that game goes ahead. Someone drives in that game and has a car accident. Now, what would the ramifications of that be? And things like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Not providing a safe workplace effectively. And it should have been called.
Well,
now, this was programmed last week. Why not? I admit, I don't get it. Why isn't those games effectively being swapped? Because I think Geelong and Brisbane definitely play again. I think Essendon and St Kilda
would
need to check that.
Yep.
But if it does, why not just swap them around?
Yes.
Now, why isn't that game going ahead still this week?
Because the push is for the northern states to
I
get their
know
opening round because they don't have gather round.
We get that,
Yes.
but it's a
common sense
freakish occasion.
Correct.
So yeah, for now, starting with 2 games.
Yep.
Why not have called it off altogether? Just about really.
Yep.
So it's sort of Mickey Mouse starting,
and a few buys in round 3 might sort of help that. And could there be a chance of just switching the schedule a little bit to be able to help?
Well, they
that
said
happen?
the Geelong and Brisbane game's easy. That'll be round 3.
Yes,
that's done.
It's the Gold Coast Essendon game. I think.
Is now they're trying to work that out.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think overall.
Yep.
I don't get it.
Look,
we get it to push the northern states.
I get that. No, but the weatherman can be wrong on occasions. But on this occasion, I think they pretty much got it right.
But it's not so much that. The best case weather-wise would have been for it to absolutely bucket down Thursday night. That's the best case.
Yep. Which is not a good advertisement for the game. It doesn't get people to the game.
No. Yep. If you're told at the moment in Brisbane that you shouldn't be going outside, well, imagine going the other half. I'm going to go to the footy. Yeah, pig's ass you are.
Yep.
So yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yep. It's a bit of a worry that the almighty dollar and these organisations, I won't say clubs, these organisations, especially the...
For mine, real good leadership would have cancelled it nearly a week. Because this was predicted.
Yep.
I think we heard it nearly a week ago now.
Yes.
So I think real good leadership it would have been...
Certainly Monday morning it was confirmed that it was going to hit.
It should have been before then. Yeah. And you could hear in Chris Fagan and Chris Scott's thing, you could hear the disgust in them that, hang on, it's a game of footy.
But they weren't told, the media knew more than what they knew, because I heard the Chris Scott interview this morning on SEN, and he was saying to Jared, like, you know a little bit more than what we do. We haven't been told it, and that's wrong. That should never happen.
But as he said, hang on, safety comes first.
Exactly. It's a game of football.
And what are we going to,
especially when you've got all these other options.
Oh, crap.
I think the AFL have made a good call. Even if it was a late call, they've made a good call. But the NRL are going to go ahead with one of their matches, moving it down to Sydney, which is still in that area that could be, in a bit of danger. So I'd
like to know where in Sydney where it is.
It's not as close to the border as what where it could hit. So it's going to be an interesting one. But again, you've got players that will be flying out of there.
Yeah, that's true.
Where their houses could be deluged of water and having to do that. And then the same with Brisbane Roar, actually playing Adelaide United in the soccer, flying out here a couple of days earlier. But they're in the same boat. Their house is going to be potentially in the area. So they're going to be sort of playing in one eye on the radios and the TVs as what's happening up there, and one eye here in the game. It's not fair, is it?
No, and we remember, it is sport.
That's right.
There are things more important overall.
100%. All right, let's take a quick look at some of the remaining teams on our list. Richmond, how do we expect them to go this year, considering they have cut hard? Do you think that they've cut too hard?
Probably.
Is this a 10-year rebuild?
5 years at least, I think. The other thing, though, is once Rioli and Bolton, they said they want to get, and they actually got very good deals for Rioli and Bolton. both clubs paid overs
Yes.
for those. So I think they
There's
had
a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, so out of that, the number of high draft choices they've got's been huge.
Yes.
But whether they're going to have enough experience to go with them for a while, look, you'd be surprised if they don't come bottom.
Yep.
Um,
But they might surprise a couple of teams along the way.
See.
Absolutely.
See, but,
The average age is 23.8, which is the 16th oldest. That was a little bit of a surprise, but there's a few players in there that have
just a
got a
couple
lot
of
of
players,
experience. 52.7, which is the 18th most experience, and that's where it's going to hurt them quite dramatically. And we've seen that happen with North Melbourne over the last few years.
Yep.
Nick Vlosten with 233 games, 10 players with 100 games plus, and 30 players with 50 games plus. So they are in that rebuilding phase. All right, let's move on to St Kilda. Where do we expect St Kilda? We did talk about them a little bit earlier. You had them a little bit higher, but now these injuries
have caught up.
And we've talked about the first 5 rounds with a lot of teams. Their first 5 are going to hurt them probably pretty big time, aren't they?
So effectively, and the same thing with the Western Bulldogs injuries, that they're both teams are probably going to be playing catch up.
Yep.
And that's bloody hard with it such a close competition.
Yes.
That you're starting behind the 8 ball and that. So, you know, I classify St Kilda and Western Bulldogs.
Yep.
Western Bulldogs list I'd probably have as better.
Slightly better, yep.
Than St Kilda, probably a little bit deeper.
Yep.
But, and, you know, but you're losing, who knows whether Hugo Hagen will play at all.
There's still a bit of
said behind there.
Yeah, there's a bit of water to go on the bridge there.
Yeah, so that's a big loss, and losing the Bont.
Yep.
The first 6, he won't be back till after gather round.
Yep.
So we miss out on seeing him at the parade, unfortunately.
Yep. Would have been amazing to see him run around on the hallowed turf of the parade, as you call it, the home of football. Question without notice. You talked about, and we'll talk about the Western Bulldogs a little bit more in a minute, but you sort of favoured them in their list a little bit better. That gets down to coaching. Do you rate Luke Beveridge over...
No, I just think their list is a little bit better.
Yep.
So it's not so much querying Beveridge versus Lyon.
Lyon, yep.
I just think their list is good, just a little bit deeper.
Yep.
You know, Libba combines with Treloar and Bont in the middle and Dale and Richards. I think that's a bit deeper.
Yes.
And English there.
And Lobb going back now
It's got some
opens
more
up
balance.
the forward line. Yeah, exactly right.
If you had Hugo Hagen and Houghton, and look, Darcy, I think, has the potential to be the big improver for the year.
Yes.
I think Croft has shown a bit as well.
Yep.
So I think there's a bit there to work with.
Absolutely.
But, and look, they still did beat Hawthorn on the weekend. Again, it's only a trial, so you take it with a grain of salt.
Yep. Apparently Hawthorn were, and I didn't see all of the highlights, I saw some of them, they were horrible in the first half.
The score flattered them.
Yes.
The amount of inside 50s was incredible. Good to see young Anil kick 4, son of from the former legs.
Yes.
So there, I hope he goes well.
Yep.
And that's his first time he's kicked 4, so that's promising.
Yes.
So, wait and see there.
Old man would have been pretty happy.
Yeah.
St Kilda average age of 23.9, 14th oldest, 66.6, which is the 15th most experienced. Bradley Hill at 255. 13 players with 100 games plus and 50
Lockie
games.
O'Neill, apology, Lockie.
That's okay.
That was annoying, mate.
And 22 with 50 games or less. All right, let's move on to Sydney. Sydney, where do you see them this year? I think that review that went for 8 hours and so on, I think is going to hold them in pretty good stead. How do you see them going
I still
this
have
year,
them
mate?
high up.
Yep.
Obviously losing Warner, and I think he'll miss the majority of the year.
Yep.
Like, they're trying to say, we'll review it after 5.
Yes.
He won't play for about 12, I reckon. That's a bad injury. It was pretty horrendous watching. So you've lost one of their dynamic 3 there.
Yep.
So that brings them back a little bit. But let's also remember, they'd only lost one minor round game.
Yeah.
It was a bit crazy. They got annihilated by Port here. So it was a couple of bizarre results. But
Yep.
I still think there's a hell of a lot of good youth there still to kick on.
I
So,
totally agree with you.
yeah.
We'll do our predictions in a minute. I have them in the top 8 and potentially the top 4 with the talent that they've got at their disposal. 6 oldest list at 24.9. Dane Rampy, 251 games, 14 players with 100 games and 16 players with 50 games. That's, I think, about the perfect mix, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to West Coast. We're obviously running through the remainder of our list pretty quickly tonight because obviously round one or round zero or opening round is this weekend. But we'll talk about West Coast. Where do you see their improvement coming this year?
Just probably getting more games into the kids overall.
Yep.
Melbourne United have just hit the front against the Wildcats in that game.
Yes.
I still think West Coast are in for a couple more years of pain.
Yep.
But I do think they needed a change of coach. I think McWalter will help there. I think they'd stagnated under Simpson.
Yes.
Probably should have happened a bit earlier.
Yep.
So
but you got to give a premiership coach every opportunity, don't you?
Yeah, so out of that, so I still think they'll be...
Yep.
But I think they can start to plant. There's a little bit better now, a bit more hope than there was. So they need a Hewitt to kick on. They need a couple of the youngsters to
and
really
not rely on a
Reid,
first-year player to or second-year player to do the job. Average age of 23.7, 17th oldest. Average games 61, 17th most experienced. So they are in that window with Richmond, aren't they, when it comes to that? Jamie Cripps of 251 games, 12 players with 100 games plus, and 26 players with 50 games plus. All right, let's move on to our last one, which is the Western Bulldogs. We did talk about them briefly a minute ago. Other than injuries sort of hurting them early on and them having to play catch-up, do we see them sort of being in that middle six area?
It's just so hard. Look, Treloar, Dale, Richards, Ugelhagen. I think there's 5 out of their top 7 from last year's BNF.
Yes,
are injured for round 1.
Yep.
So that's huge.
Yep.
Dale and Richards, I think a couple of those will be tests.
Yep.
But
it is now the decision to move on someone like Caleb Daniel.
I
a little
agree.
bit of a painful decision.
Yeah, I think so.
When you think about it,
a little bit, and also Bontempelli that was their 3rd calf injury.
Yep.
So I reckon you got to query the fitness side there a bit. The 3 calves by now is a bit over the bit of a worry.
A little bit like knees and bits and pieces like that can be very interesting, but sometimes that can be down to accidents and practice games and everything.
I just find 3
calves are a little bit different.
A little bit.
Absolutely. Average age of 25.1, which is the 3rd oldest list. That was quite a surprise to me. 78.4, which is the 5th most experienced. Adam Treloar at 254 games is their highest, most games played. 100 games plus 14, and players with 50 games at 19. So they've sort of got that balance right, but they've got a lot at the big end and a lot at the front end. So it's bringing in that middle area. All right, mate. Everyone's been hanging out. We've gone almost 43 minutes here, but without doing our top 8 predictions. Who have you got?
Brisbane, Geelong.
Yes.
Sydney.
Yep.
Collingwood.
Yep.
Fremantle. GWS. Gold Coast, who have the best draw of any side, and Port Adelaide.
All right. We're going to differ a little bit here.
Oh, and look, as I said, I think 14 to 15 clubs, you can make a strong case.
Any honourable mentions that?
Oh, I think Adelaide are a chance.
Yep.
Carlton are obviously a huge chance. Yep. Melbourne are a huge chance.
Yep.
So you can just keep going. Western
Absolutely.
Bulldogs, who knows if they,
Yep.
someone like a Davidson who stood up on the weekend and things like that. So it's just fluke guesswork.
I
really.
agree. We're having a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Mate, I've got Brisbane, Sydney, Geelong and Freo as probably my top 4. Then it gets a little bit interesting. I'm going to go Carlton, Hawthorn, Collingwood, and Gold Coast.
Yeah.
With honourable mentions to GWS, which are going to be starting behind the 8 ball a little bit, Adelaide, and
Essendon too.
Well,
Essendon, one, you wouldn't back them, but for mine, out of the pre-season results, while it's only only a trial game, but you need your top draft choices to kick on, and that's a thing Essendon haven't had for a while.
Yes,
they've had a couple of bombs in that regard.
Yep. Adelaide have been in the same place.
So all of a sudden, Caddy, Kako, Hobbs, and Titsiatis, have you pronounced that name correctly?
Yep.
Look good, and they're all top 14 draft choices.
Yep.
So, that suddenly they're different. And let's remember, they were in the top 4 and so were Freo,
Yep.
right up there. Both sides were right up there until the last
5 rounds.
5 rounds, yeah.
which
So it's
happened
so
to-
close.
Which happened to Essendon the year before, and I think Freo a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Mate, as far as coaches go, will injuries play a little bit of part in the decision? Because if the Bulldogs...
Oh, they do.
Bulldogs don't get off to a good start, obviously the pressure mounts, but
Same with Longmuir at Freo.
This is
If they
why-
don't get
this
away
is
to a
why I
good
asked.
start. Nick's at Adelaide.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think Adelaide are in a better position.
Well, at the moment, Adelaide haven't got any injuries, so
probably-
that's pretty important, though.
Yep.
Hopefully, Michael Annie comes back. Max is pretty important. Hopefully, he comes back for round 1. And it gives them the chance that they can play a Malira at SANFL level for a few weeks, which I desperately hope they do.
Yep.
Rowie to keep going on the crap. Oh, he's an All-Australian if he plays all year. He hasn't played for 3 years. And you've got question marks over him defensively and physicality-wise in terms of tackling and spoiling and all that.
But if they're looking
So,
for that run and gun, he could
Yes,
be
in
the
that
player
way.
that we all think.
Yeah.
So, no, totally get it. All right, mate, we better take a very quick break. We've been flying today. We're coming up. We're Adelaide United in one of the games of the year.
Yeah.
Not if not for their franchise history.
Won the difference at three-quarter time, Melbourne and the Wildcats.
SANFL, Norwood head over to Tasmania and get the job done. And the NRL, the love affair with Vegas, may it continue.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
Yep.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking to buy or sell your home anywhere in Adelaide, from the hills to the sea? Meet Gary KRIEVS, your dedicated local agent from OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. With unparalleled knowledge of Adelaide's housing market and a commitment to exceptional service, Gary ensures a smooth and stress-free experience for all your real estate needs. Trust the expert, trust Gary KRIEVS at OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. Your next dream home awaits. Contact Gary today on 0422 071 317 or on email garyk@ocre.com.au. And for more listings, please visit owenscasserly.com.au. Make it happen. And as per usual, we thank our sponsors for helping us out at the podcast. We'll probably be hitting up a few businesses coming up for the next round of podcasts in about a month's time. Really looking forward to that. All right, let's talk Adelaide United in the soccer. Came from behind in impressive circumstances to be sort of ends up with a draw in one of the most impressive games of the season, if not their franchise history, and that shows that there's a little bit of self-belief there that they can do it no matter what.
Yeah, hopefully. And, a good comeback to get the last goal to equalise right at the death. So, yeah, hopefully, as we said, we wanted to see them not lose this game. So, hopefully that's a stepping point in the right thing. And on the world of soccer, a great result for Australia in the under-20s to win there. So, fantastic result with the former Adelaide United goalkeeper, young Stephen Hall, being the hero in the penalty shootout.
And that was an absolute beautiful save, wasn't it? And he was up and about. Stole the words right out of mouth.
He's now at Brighton.
Yep.
So he's a Brighton keeper.
Stole the thunder right there out from under me. But Adelaide United taking on Brisbane Roar Saturday the 8th of March, 4:30 p.m. at Coopers Stadium. Sure to be a ripper, and we really need the 3 points or the win there.
Yep.
Exactly right. All right, let's move on to SANFL. Norwood get the job done in Tasmania. A huge result, I think, for Norwood, not knowing some of the new players and also new coach as well.
You just don't know the standard of the opposition either. It's
but
just a hard one to read. But yeah, look, it's good they get to go away, spend time together, get to know each other a bit more. So there's only positives there.
Yep.
Sponsored by the AFL, so we do appreciate that side of things. So, yeah, look, a good result. Same thing with the Norwood women.
Yes.
Chance to get away there, the ladies' side. and that was a close game. I think we just went down there.
Yep,
I think
we did indeed. But the development side, I think, had a couple of good trial wins as well. So good results. The other SANFL trial that we did see was Adelaide convincingly beat Woodville West Torrens by 50 points, which you would expect.
Yeah, especially with Adelaide, no injuries for at the moment, so they've got
a full list to choose from.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting watch, the SANFL. Other trial matches coming up Friday the 14th and Saturday the 15th. Glenelg v Sturt or Sturt v Glenelg, Centrals v Norwood, West v North, and South v Woodville West Torrens. I think we'll get a bit of a true indication after those trial games as to where everybody's sort of sitting.
Yep.
I think we sort of have our top two at the moment with the next two, and then it's going to be a fight for fifth, isn't it?
Correct.
All right, let's move on to the NRL. The Vegas experiment is gaining momentum with a reasonably big crowd watching. Some good games over the weekend. They're thinking about changing the format a little bit, with a bit like what happens in Gather Round, is that the early team that plays at the stadium, they all leave. Not as many come in for the second game or hang around for the second game. So there's a little bit of work to be done there, but I think the experiment's gaining a little bit of momentum.
They're happy with the TV ratings and all that back here. You can your points to and fro that it's mainly people go travelling there, but then that probably gets you more bargaining power with potential sponsors and that side of things, that you're bringing in so much money to the economy.
Yep.
So there's points for that as well. So, look.
It's a bit like what we talked about with Keith Thomas with the China experiment with Port Adelaide. Gave him another avenue. And you have a look at the stadium. I mean, there was probably, I think, 46 or 47,000 people there. They don't get that at normal NRL games.
No.
You're looking at 5,000-6,000 max, aren't you?
Yeah, and it was sort of like, well, hang on, we've always been thinking of going to Vegas. Let's do it with our team playing. I think that's a hell of a lot with it.
Yes.
And at the moment, it's working. It's working. It's got more ticks than negatives.
Yep.
That's the way to look at it.
First year Blues last year, trying to logistically work out things. I think they did it a hell of a lot better this year, and they'll do it a hell of a lot better next year.
Get in there.
The big suggestion to come out of that was the World Club Challenge to join the NRL in the Vegas as a bit of a spectacular for the weekend.
Well, that makes sense.
It seems to be gaining a little bit of momentum and would be a fantastic spectacle, that's for sure. Let's talk some... we might just leave our tips for the NRL for the remainder of the weekend. We're running a little bit short on time. But can you see the AFL ever going back to maybe the England experiment? Or India's probably the big one because of the grounds.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows?
All right, mate. Let's have a look at what's coming up. Keith Thomas, part 6. This is the final. We did talk to him for a long time. It was fantastic.
It was.
And Peter Super Carey from the Glenelg Footy Club, part 2.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
A dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.
Flashbacks.
split the centre. And it's on. The emotion overflows as it often does. Expect the unexpected in a grand final. Sims. Oh, the President and Burton having a real go. Parsons comes in as well, and it is getting out of hand now.
All started with Simpson, who's tagging. It appears he's tagging Hart. Back to the half forward. Simpson, cruel bounce from Matthew Simpson, doubling back opposed there to Sims. And he should earn the free kick.
I don't think Simpson's any good. Well, that was a very nasty incident. A round arm right was thrown. That's definitely a reportable offence, and the West Adelaide players would be within their rights to be there to support their teammate. I don't think Simpson's any good at all, Darryl. He has not.
Well, they've been consistent, the umpires. Bennett onto Sims, left boot to the pocket. He's unloaded. There's a free kick downfield, and it's on once again.
Oh, this is crazy. This is absolutely unbelievable. And Blythe is really getting into Sims, and if he's not careful, he'll get reported. And Sims has just copped another one. This is getting totally out of hand here. Meantime, Hamilton has a shot at goal and has missed to the right. The fight is still on. This is disgraceful. Right into the crowd, do you mind? And Sims, Darryl, copped about 4 or 5 in the face. I'm absolutely amazed he's still conscious. There's Kennedy. Well, the action, we're all standing up on the broadcasting box here, and here they go again. There's the fight. I'd say a goal coming up. No, short pass to Hart. Hart has banged it through, so West Adelaide once again lose concentration and pay. And Darryl Hart has kicked his 5th goal. That's always just no one there. Perkins has got it. North Adelaide doing everything right. Timmy Perkins having a fight now with Morris. It's on again. There's no point. We should really get back to the footy because the footy's first class by North Adelaide. It is really on in front of the grandstand. Everyone's standing up. That was totally pointless. Peter Krieg and Fitzsimmons. Michael Redden comes over and just says, look, you've lost the game. Don't get involved because we've outplayed you.
Extra time. Big finish.
All right, and a little bit of interesting flashback today, but West Adelaide taking on North Adelaide in the infamous 1991 grand final of the Bloodbath.
The Bloodbath, yes. In some regards, not a great advertisement for the game. It's probably a way to describe it.
What were your thoughts as a neutral, seeing that all unfold the way it did?
I cringed a bit. I thought, hang on, this is going way too far. You know, this is... It did, and, you know, yeah, Sims built a Simpson back.
Yep.
That's the thing, but, yeah, it just went. Yep. And in the end, it was like, bugger the ball, we just hit a fight. I think, hey, come on, guys,
yep.
Jeez.
Is it a little bit like the Port Adelaide-Brisbane grand final where it did get a little bit willing there, but then it settled down, whereas this carried on, didn't it?
I think the Port-Brisbane game was a game of... It was... I don't think Wakes and Lynch are either going to be invited to the World Boxing Championship.
Yep, gotcha. Whereas the North Adelaide...
I do stir Wakes up about that.
No, fair enough. But, yeah, no, we don't like seeing that in our game, and it is a bit of a throwback to yesteryear.
Yeah,
and
it was.
The Biff is not, not going to be around anymore.
Put it that way. That one was just where it went. Even, we all enjoy a bit of... stand up for your mate and argy-bargy, but no, that one was, way overboard.
Yep. All right, let's talk a couple of topics here to finish us off in the extra time big finish tonight. Taron Armstrong signs a 2-way deal with NBA powerhouse Golden State Warriors. The 23-year-old is now teammates with one of basketball's greatest ever players after being plucked from nowhere, and he's a Tasmanian.
So they've got an extra player then with the two heads. So, yeah.
Well, he actually grew up in Burnie, I think it is, but he has been part of the Tasmanian system for a little while now.
Huge for him. 23 too, is a bit older than normal. Yep. So, yeah, it is an interesting one, isn't it?
That's why plucked from absolute obscurity.
Bloody oath.
We might talk a little bit the NBA coming up. Obviously, the Lakers are on a bit of a hot streak at the moment with getting Doncic and James absolutely flying at the moment. We might talk about them a little bit more next week. All right, let's talk netball. Round 1 is getting nearer. The Thunderbirds take on the Melbourne Mavericks 14th of March at home.
Pretty stable in their environment and all that as well. There's only been very minimal change overall. So, look, and they were terrible there for a while. Now they've come right back, won the last 2.
Yes.
And they're back right up there and, very good crowds as well.
Absolutely.
So, all the best of the Thunderbirds.
Absolutely. Almost like the not the Redbacks, the South Australian cricket team at the moment. Struggled for a while and now seem to be coming good, which is fantastic. They play the Melbourne Mavericks, as I mentioned there. Their last 2 games of last year, or they played each other twice last year. Adelaide getting both wins reasonably convincingly, but new season, new challenges.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to tennis. Young Hewitt.
Yeah.
Becomes runner-up in the ITF M25 tournament on Sunday, coming through qualifying, much the same as his old man, as Leighton did in Adelaide here.
Yep.
Winning 6 matches at any event is hard, but ended up losing to Jason Kubler with just a little bit more experience, who made the 4th round of Wimbledon this year.
Exactly.
Or last year, I should say. So that's a pretty fair effort. Mate, we did talk about this a little bit a few weeks ago, but we didn't actually focus on it. But Yannick Sinner having a bit of a 3-month holiday. Are you thinking this is the right call or the wrong call?
Well, it's the holiday you have without having a holiday, effectively. It's the Mickey Mouse one. It's in between the Grand Slams. He might have been playing hardly at all anyway.
Yep.
So, it's...
Do you think tennis, and I was going to throw this at you, question about tennis, do you think tennis is worried about the direction that it's going in
that one
by not having their top players playing because you don't have a Federer and Nadal, and realistically Djokovic is on his last legs?
And they even said, the players even said that the top end's treated differently than the bottom end.
Yep.
Which is a pretty big call coming from a few players being that honest.
Yep.
Not very often I say the words "well done, Djokovic," in being that honest.
And Nick Kyrgios called it out as well.
Yeah, but I take Kyrgios with a bit more of a grain of salt.
Yeah, but he's on the right track, I think, with a lot of things.
Yeah,
it's
but
just how he delivers.
The established number one for so long. Agreed. To come out and set it. And that's more the point. I think there's still there's been more questions than answers by that suspension.
Yes.
Probably the way to put it.
No, fair enough. It's going to be very interesting. All right, mate, we better wrap things up. A good, the bad, the ugly for this week for you, mate?
Well, the good was South Australia winning.
Happy days.
I admit, I've also, it was funny, waiting to see Damien Newbury at SportsMed, and a thing came up on Sports Memories. So I looked it up, went along the next day. Sure enough, I knew the person running it.
Yep.
And roped in, have done the training to be one of the facilitators with it. All that. So I actually enjoyed that today. And
yes.
Yeah, something to hopefully look forward to. A bit of fun there with posting sports stuff.
Yep,
which obviously
is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah.
All right, we better wind things up there, mate. If we haven't said it before, we'll say it again. If you haven't liked, rated, and subscribed, please do so. It just helps with our podcast numbers and obviously helps us hopefully attract a few sponsors, which will be absolutely fantastic. All right, mate, as per usual, we got to do better than this. But it's been a huge week in SA sport, and we really look forward to what's coming up in the next few weeks.
I reckon Geelong and Brisbane will be 0-0 Thursday night.
There you go.
Make that call, mate.
That's a big tip.
I reckon they'll play for a Jeff Boycott and a Chris Tavare, 0-0.
I like it. We'll see everybody next week.
See you, mate.
Catch you later, mate.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at Sportscast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.